And we're going to turn to housing, because the new Labour government has been prioritising housing in its first fortnight in charge. A promise of 1.5 million new homes in this Parliament, the private sector picking up the bulk of that building. So there are going to be changes as well to planning, restoring of mandatory housing targets, etc. But have they ignored, at least so far, social renters and the country's lack of social housing? We sent our reporter Jim Connolly to Liverpool to see one of the likely development sites and speak to people struggling there to find somewhere to live.
We around all.
Rebecca and her 2 children. Oh, that was a good bit of singing. 2 of the cutest kids just having a great time, totally unaware the difficulties Mum is having putting a roof over their heads.
We're currently living with my mum, which is very small and not good for the kids at the minute. Me and my 2 kids are sleeping in the same room. Me and my daughter are sleeping in the same bed.
And that must be just so difficult. I've got kids of a similar age. It's hard work, isn't it? And it's stressful. You just want a bit of space.
It does make a lot of stress. It can make me feel like I'm not doing good enough for them.
And you've been on a waiting list for quite a while.
So we've been on the housing list since May of 22.
She's talking there about a waiting list for people in Liverpool who need a home and can't afford to buy or rent privately. It's known as property pool.
It is just the basics, but at the minute it feels like it's miles away.
You've had some offers. Can you describe it though? Because it's not been great.
They offered me to go to a hostel, and that was in Blackpool. I had to decline because I needed to be able to stay in the area. I didn't get another offer until January of 24, a third floor flat, which wasn't really ideal with 2 young toddlers, but I accepted because we need the space. It became June of 24 and it still wasn't ready. I had to, unmatch from the flat.
I mean, you're in the middle of it all, but do you think there's just a shortage of the right kind of houses for people out there?
There is definitely a shortage. There's a lot of people that need them and deserve to have a safe place for them and their family and everything.
The new Labour government has been making housing one of its priorities. The first speech from the new Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, promised 1.5 million homes this Parliament.
We need the private sector to build homes. We're not going to be in the business of building those homes directly.
One of the sites they want to get cracking on is here.
You're absolutely on an active development site.
It's just a few miles away from Rebecca and her battles.
So I'm Chris Capes, I'm Development Director for Peel Liverpool Waters.
To do this whole site here is going to take a lot of manpower ultimately. Yep. Have we got the trades? Have we got the people that can deliver it?
We're absolutely confident that can be delivered. Yes, the development of central docks and all the infrastructure that goes in place will require a substantial amount of manpower, and that's great for the city because that brings jobs and growth and investment.
Is there a social housing element to this?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a 20% allocation of affordable housing that will be delivered within
There's a difference between affordable housing and social housing, isn't there? Affordable housing comes in parameters that people decide what's affordable, and that's not always affordable to everyone, is it? But is there any social housing in there, like social rent housing?
As I've said, we have there's a 20% allocation of affordable housing. We'll work with registered providers, we'll work with the council, we'll work with other RPs and housing associations to ensure that what's being delivered here is what is required.
The government told us it's committed to the biggest increase in social housing and affordable house building in a generation, and says it will work in partnership with councils, housing associations and the wider sector to, in its words, build the homes Britain needs. But the housing charity Shelter has got its worries.
There's no way of hitting that 1.5 million homes target through private development alone.
Charlie True is its head of policy.
Private developers fundamentally are here to make money, and so many report after report has shown that they have to drip feed homes onto the market to keep their prices up. It's simply not in their interest to deliver that many homes that fast. That's why we need councils to build.
In the 1950s, hundreds of thousands of social homes were built each year. But last year, it was less than 10,000, according to the National Housing Federation, which represents housing associations in England. And that's a big problem in places like Liverpool.
Well, we've got the worst housing crisis in a generation,
Julie Fadden is a Labour councillor and she used to lead a housing association.
largely caused by the Right to Buy, where we lost 2 million homes out of the public sector.
Are we just not building enough social rented houses? So like what we would formerly call a council house?
Absolutely. And we need to be investing more in that social fabric.
As a Labour councillor in a Labour city, you've got a new Labour government. What's the simple message for them?
Just get on with it. There's people dying, waiting to be housed.
We can often get lost in policy and stats with this type of issue. But remember, this is all about people like Rebecca and her 2 children. Uh-oh.
All I want is a safe space for my children.
That's it.
That's it.
And since we've arranged to have a chat with you, things have started to improve.
Yeah, so I got contacted about a flat. They've offered to give that to me and my children.
When do you think you might get in there for?
We're hoping to be able to get in there before my daughter's birthday, which is in November.
Well, good luck with it.
Thank you.